On the docket for today's Philadelphia 76ers. Now, I cooked up a couple of blockbuster trade ideas the Sixers can make to land another superstar. Now, a lot of you out there might be saying, well, Chase, they don't have the money to bring on a superstar. Well, yes, they do, as the counter argument to that, if they traded away Tobias Harris and or James Harden. So, we'll set the table here with the 76ers trade assets via the draft and with some cash, but also take a look at their player assets as well. They have their own first-round pick in 2030, according to Bobby Marks, ESPN front office insider. First-round pick swaps in 24, 29, and 30. They have 3 future second-round picks, and they have $7.1 million in cash that they can include in a trade or get back in a trade. So those are the Sixers' cash and draft assets here. As for the Sixers' player assets, players who could be of value and of interest to other teams out there. Tyrese Maxey, one of the best young trade chips across the NBA. James Harden asked for a trade. Tobias Harris on the final year of his deal. For a lot of teams across the NBA, I think he's a walking 20 points per game, 45% from the field, and 40% from three. He's just a clunky fit on the Sixers roster. D'Anthony Melton, a very good reserve guard, and P.J. Tucker, the ultimate bulldog, very good defender still at this point of his NBA career, and if he's hitting that corner three, adds to his value. Now, if a Sixers trade does happen, I guarantee you this, regardless of where I am, we're going to be talking about it here on the show, whether it be a regular video or going live. That's why you subscribe. Sixers blockbuster trade candidate numero uno. Let's begin here with the name that's been centered in a lot of these trade discussions, Damian Lillard of the Portland Trail Blazers. Last week, right at the start of NBA free agency, he did inform the Trail Blazers that he has requested a trade. And this is the trade idea that I put together that I think could appease Portland. And I think that if Daryl Morey would have put Tyrese Maxey in a deal for Dame, he might already be a 76er right now. So Tyrese Maxey has to be in the deal to get Dame. Tobias Harris is going to go in there as well, just because you have to make the money work with how large Dame's contract is. And then you also include a 2030 first-round pick. I think Maxey is the player who gets it done. Tobias Harris on an expiring deal, playing alongside Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, and Shaedon Sharpe, gives you a solid wing scorer who I think could assume a large role there, and you get some draft capital. If you want to put in a pick swap in there as well, you could probably add that to the equation depending on how much you want Lillard. The thing with Dame, dude's an all-time bucket getter. He's been getting it done for a really, really long time. I do have some concerns about how an older guard at his size ages, because previous history shows you that at some point soon, Dame is going to start to break down, especially with all the mileage and tread on the tires and his usage rate and how much he's depended on to put the biscuit in the basket. But last year, one of his best seasons in scoring the rock, a career-high 32 points per game, 7 assists, 46% from the field, 37% from three-point range. Year before that, he was banged up. But Dame is a high-leverage baller who's not afraid to rise up in the biggest of moments when the lights are the brightest, when the pressure cooker is popping, and give you a big bucket. The Trailblazers haven't made deep playoff runs because Damian Lillard is a bad player, because he doesn't show up in the playoffs like James Harden. He always shows up, and he always seizes the moment. That's more of a byproduct of the surrounding core not being that good around Dame. But if you give up Maxey, who I think is a blossoming superstar, borderline all-star potential, who's only 23 years old, for Dame, who's older, and you look at the contract here, that's when it gets a little bit risky, but that's the type of deal it requires to pair Damian Lillard alongside Joel Embiid. And that 1-2 punch, it would be very good, but would you take the Sixers with depleted depth over a team like the Celtics, Milwaukee Bucks, or Miami Heat? Would still be a very difficult playoff series. So who wins the trade here? Let me know. PHI for Philly, POR for that organization in the Pacific Northwest. Feel free to also sound off with what you think down in the comment section. Blockbuster trade target number 2, Zach Levine. Some loose reports that the Bulls are taking calls on Levine and that the Sixers have potentially inquired about his services. The Sixers, I do believe, have some assets that could be of note for Chicago here. So this is my trade idea number 2, where the Sixers only get back Zach Levine. The Bulls, on the other hand, get Tobias Harris, who can give you around the same scoring production as Levine, but doesn't demand the ball as much, which might free up some of the other players on that roster, like DeMar DeRozan, Kobe White, who they re-signed, Javon Carter, and Nikola Vucevic. You get D'Anthony Melton. Both of these contracts are expiring. So for Chicago, they're in this precarious spot right now. They're kind of in that middle tier, mediocrity, floating in there at the NBA level. So if they're not good to start the year and they want to tear everything down, you're looking at an expiring for Toby, expiring for Melton, and an expiring for DeMar DeRozan, and then they have a bunch of cap space they can use or draft capital that they could try to accumulate to start this rebuilding process a little bit. I also throw in that 2030 first-round pick. And for Levine, best season definitely came in 2020, 2021. I also have concerns that he's played in like 4 playoff games, I believe, in his career, or at least over the last several years. But he is one of the better scorers who's just a raw bucket getter in the NBA, who has the athleticism to really rise up and get a shot from anywhere. And sometimes the offensive game comes so seamlessly for him where he can just give you easily 25 points per game per night and shoot around 47 to 50% from the field and be a pretty efficient three-point shooter as well. I also put together these advanced shooting numbers for Zach Levine, which does tell a pretty solid story. Catch and shoot threes, he's at about 41.5% on pull-up threes. Oddly enough, because I like the dribble drive to his game, he's only shooting 34% on some of those pull-up three-pointers. 10 feet and into the rim, though, very good. That's because he has pogo sticks for legs, hyper jumper, hyper athlete who can finish amongst the trees in traffic, twirl his body, very good body control, throw down some yams as well. Almost 63% on that field goal percentage from 10 feet in. Overall ranking in the NBA, all these categories combined, checking in the top 10. Now, let me know what you think about these trade ideas. Let me know what you think about Daryl Morey basically doing nothing throughout this offseason, what you think of this organization. But also, I cover the NFL here at Chat Sports. If you're an Eagles fan, I talk Eagles every single day. Really big into health, wellness, and fitness and all that stuff. So don't be a stranger. Slide in the DMs at Chase_Senior on Twitter and Instagram. Let's go to this last one. It's going to cause a stir. Zion Williamson. When a guy like J.J. Redick has said that Zion doesn't like to hang out at the facility, he worries about his devotion to his craft, him trying to stay in shape, and the overall cultural impact or lack thereof that Zion has had, I get a little bit of a concern when it comes to Zion. And the fact that he's missed so many games is definitely a problem. It doesn't help when Mariah Mills is putting him on blast on Twitter. But Zion Williamson, you're banking this solely on potential. And can he finally stay healthy? Can he be a 4 alongside Joel Embiid and be that guy that everybody thought he was going to be coming out of Duke, although I had major concerns about him just because of the girth to his body. I know a lot of you like that word, pause, and just the overall weight that's on his frame, given the style that he plays with. And if he doesn't eat right, if he doesn't take care of his body, given the reckless abandon in which he plays with, his body, I had concerns that it would not be able to hold up. So far, so good, right, on that prediction. But here's my trade idea. Zion and Dyson Daniels, pretty good defender, athletic guy who was drafted in the first round 2 years ago out of the G League. And then the Pelicans get Tobias Harris, a 2030 first-round pick, and that 2024 first-round pick swap. Like, I don't know how high Zion's value is when you look at all the time that he's missed. Career stats so far. He plays in 24 games as a rookie. The production was awesome. And then in 2020, 2021, 61 games played. Did not play 2 years ago. And this past year, only 29 games played. And when the Pelicans are playing in the NBA play-in tournament, I thought he had a chance to play. He sat out. At some point, you got to be tough, right? You have to be able to give it a go. And to be so precautionary with some of these injuries, like, homie, you got to get on the damn floor to tell your teammates that you actually care about the game of basketball and put in that work to just have better physique and to be in better shape, because when you're on the deck and playing, you can be a high-impact player on both ends of the floor. So 3 blockbuster trade ideas right there. You have Dame, Zach Levine, Zion Williamson. Let me know which trades you like the best, but most importantly, the question here on your screen, pick a star that you want the most. Is it Dame, Levine, Zion Williamson? Feel free to let me know down in the comment section here. And obviously, blockbuster trade ideas. These would be monster splashes that Daryl Morey would have to maneuver here, but certainly fun to talk about at this point of the offseason. And if the Sixers do make a move, you know we're going to cover it right here on the program. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Sixers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 subscribe.